Everything recorded? Good. Okay.
Alright.
Just gotta wait for
Are
your
you
thing.
seeing?
Not
Are you
yet.
seeing me?
There we
There we
go.
go.
I guess I should just start saying the questions, I guess. I don't know. Alright, the first one's pretty easy. It's what inspired you to start reviewing in the first place?
Around the time of around 2010 when the video first came out, I was in high school and I had just started learning how to edit. Like doing machinimas and the reviews were how I taught myself how to edit. I would go into every video more so with a I want to learn this editing trick, and then I would write a whole script around it. But that was usually on the machinima side, because at the time I was doing a brawl machinima called Sonic's Redemption. The reviews for me were actually a way to blow off steam, because I really enjoyed editing, and practice makes perfect. But I always felt that in the machinima space, it was very time consuming plotting out the story, writing out the script, sending it out to people, and getting all of their lines in order. And I would have to wait for all of that to start. So the reviews were actually easier because it was all focused on me. I already had the everything set up to record. Because half the reason I decided to do Sonic 06, at the time of doing Sonic 06, I was in the middle of reviewing every Sonic the Hedgehog, and I had just finished Halo 3 Machinima, so my setup was already set from my Xbox 360, so I figured, why not just record the whole game? And I learned how to review slowly. My very first review was a Sonic Adventure review, which I believe is lost media now, because I took it off of YouTube because I didn't like it, and I don't have a copy of it at all.
That's tragic.
But that one I did completely off the cuff without even playing the game first. I just did it off of my memory. I was in 9th grade. I didn't completely understand.
Yeah.
It's good to have it in your mind. And if I recall, Sonic Heroes was the first time I took notes on the game, but still didn't write a script. And Sonic 06 was actually the first review that I wrote a script for.
Yeah, I gotcha. It's funny because I actually found out earlier today that my oldest video that was on a completely random channel was actually deleted. I found out earlier today. I was like, well, that sucks. Because I was the day I was going to archive it too. So
I rewatched my old Sonic 06 video, and the one thing I will say is I hope nobody watches it ever again.
Yeah, that's the nature of old videos. You kind of hate everything whenever you go back to them. Yeah. All right. I was gonna ask next. I'm kind of trying to get for my video. I'm trying to, I don't know, kind of piece together what caused Sonic 06 reviews to kind of change in the way they did over time. So my next question is, who were your main reviewing influences at the time? If you had
At the time, I could easily tell, I was really into, Nostalgia Critic, Angry Video Game Nerd. I'd say those two were, my biggest inspirations, and I feel like especially those early reviews, they kind of have that, they have that style, because even, I remember back in high school, I always thought it was easier to write if you don't like something, because it's easier to put into words why something is bad or why you don't like it versus why you enjoy something.
Yeah.
And I still stand by that, but at the same time, that's why I think my review style has changed over the years, because talking about what makes it positive is harder to write about.
Yeah.
How it makes you feel and why it makes you feel that is the harder thing to write, which leads into more interesting analysis rather than frame rate bad, haha,
Yeah.
game glitchy. Even so, I always stuck. So at the time, I think from early high school all the way to, I want to say even 2017, which kind of ended with me reviewing all of the Bubsy games. The Bubsy games made me realize I didn't like reviewing things in that kind of negative, angry style anymore. And I think because you're just saying the same things as everybody else, why it's bad. Everybody knows why it's bad. It's more interesting to figure out why that individual reviewer feels that way. What about that personality and that person made, like, help them land on that opinion? And I feel like that's something that a lot of people kind of miss, especially like during the like 2010s era of angry video game reviewers, that because a lot of us were so young, we were just trying to emulate what we thought was easy, even like what I did. But the thing everybody I think forgets is that James Rolfe was a professional filmmaker while making The Angry Video Game Nerd. He also acted in all of his own things, so he knew how to be a character, and he knew how to like emphasize certain things, how to like take his own actual thoughts but turn it into like such an extreme person that it's still funny, and the comedy comes from the extremes of it. And I think something that got lost in translation as that trickled down into like people like me were that you didn't have to be angry in order to express your opinion. It worked for the Angry Video Game Nerd because that was his character. Being angry at something is whatever. It's one way to express something, and if the game didn't make you angry, then why are you trying to get angry about it? Even rewatching the Sonic 06, like, I rewatched my old Sonic 06 video before coming to this just so I could remember what the hell I even said in there. I actually disagree with a lot of the points, like, ironically enough, a lot of the points that were in there. I still think the game is horrible dog shit. I think the actual points I made in that video were good. I think the way I said it and how I explained my reasoning was the thing that was bad.
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say, a lot of reviewers, one thing they really miss a lot of time is that whenever James Rolfe had like angry humor, it usually, like, I feel like some reviewers really took it a bit too far. Not you specifically, but there was a lot of reviewers I saw that just had like the most, like, just say like some random like bullshit. Like, I don't know if you've seen Game Dude's 06 video.
I think so. I think like back in the day, because like it's even like I still watch the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've watched, like, outside of him, I don't think I've watched the, like, any angry reviewers since, because I just feel like it's, like, the best word to describe it is that I think right now is kind of cringe if you're still, like, relying on that style.
Yeah.
But that and, like, the only person I think that actually still pulls it off is James Rolfe. And again, it's because he knows it's a character, he knows how to do it, and even now I would say the Angry Video Game Nerd has mellowed out a little bit.
That's true.
Which, honestly, a good thing.
He doesn't give off dad energy now, which is kind of funny, because he literally is a dad now. Yeah, I don't know. I saw a lot of reviews that said like completely out of pocket things, and I'm like, okay.
Even watching mine, I had an out of pocket thing. That I was just like, I might go back and like. It made me think I might go back into the video editor and just clip out like 10 seconds. I don't want anybody to see.
There's definitely a couple lines I'm not gonna bring up. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, a lot of that is just, it's the past. People just way edgier back then. It was kind of just a YouTube game. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like weird like, because you get influenced by, like, half the things I would say in character as the, like, Maniac reviewer were never things I would say in person.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, I gotta be angry, so I gotta say some horrible shit. Because that's the style. Family Guy did that. Family Guy said all this horrible shit. James Rolfe said all of this horrible shit. Everybody's saying it, so it must be okay. And when you're 14 and 15, you don't realize the, like, damaging words that you say.
Yeah, I agree. I was curious why specifically went with, like, this, like, maniac reviewer persona. Because I was watching the video. I was watching the 06 video because I remember I watched that. I was like, okay, he's going to do some insane maniac things. And the video was mostly kind of chilled out, to be honest. Because then I watched like the Sonic Heroes video. That one felt a lot more interesting to me. Like it felt a lot more closer to that kind of caricature, which I thought was interesting.
I honestly, it just stems from my gamer tag. Like when I first got my Xbox, I just went with Leo Maniac because I never had a screen name before I got on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
And so I just, or at the time, the Maniac Reviews channel was called Peanut Butter and Jelly Studios because it was supposed to be like a collaborative place for me and all of my friends. And like as time went on, I was the only one giving content to it. I was the only one working on it. But we all had our other kind of channels, and mine was like even my personal channel is Leo Maniac 135. So the Maniac Reviews was just more so like these are Leo's opinions, and I thought like it had a good enough name. That's and true. the character was more so it was more so again just the angry video game nerd, but through the eyes of a high schooler. There was not like I never until I completely rebranded the channel in like late 2016, early 2017, I never thought that the anger was like even in the name. I always just thought it was like my style at the time. And even like my newer videos, even though they carried the Maniac Reviews moniker, they're so much more chill. They're so much more mellow.
I remember clicking on like a newer video and I was like, oh, it's just a normal review.
Yeah,
I got you.
Trust me, even like I've been off for a while and I have a few scripts that I've started writing a little while ago that I go back to every now and then. And I always told myself if I do come back, it's going to be another rebrand.
That's fair. This is kind of like a side note to the video itself, but I noticed in the live action scenes, like the camera like seems like almost like a motion track with your head. I wonder if you knew it was up with that.
Yeah, I didn't. It was at the time I was recording with like I don't know why I exported that video in HD because none of the footage was HD. It was captured on like a Dazzle in like 480 like 720 by in like 720 by 480, and I had like a dinky little Sony camcorder, and that was just I think that was also 720 by 480, and that was something, the motion tracking was something you could not turn off. So like I didn't like it, but I was not like smart enough to like back then. Like now I know how to fix it, but back then as like someone literally just trying to learn how to edit on a pirated piece of software, I didn't know what motion stabilization was.
That's fair. I just thought it was interesting. I thought I'd bring that up because I was curious. Oh yeah, this one, this one makes sense. Obviously, you know, every review at the time was like, the voice acting is bad. Jason Griffith ruined my entire you know, I assumed, but I figured I'd ask. How has your opinion changed on the voice cast now that they've all been recast for like a decade?
Genuinely, that was one of the big things that I would completely change in that review, because do they voice act because like that's, I think at that point after Shadow and Sonic Riders, I think that's the third time in the games that they voiced those characters.
Maybe Sonic Rush would count too, which would make it 4. Maybe.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. There's so many games at that point.
Yeah, but it was still like they were doing the anime Sonic X.
Yeah,
and like they did that, and so they had the experience under their belt, and you can tell that there's like a change in direction with the way that they were told to voice the characters in Sonic X versus the games. I feel like the game characters have, like, especially like, I think a good example is Game Sonic.
Yeah.
Game Sonic has a lot more in-your-face attitude versus his portrayal in Sonic X, who is supposed to, like, his cool attitude is more so laid back, not caring, pretending not, like, just kind of being off in the corner, being too cool for this. Kind of what people, like, associate with Shadow now, if you kind of... Like, if you kind of see that. So, like, you can tell, I feel like it took them a little while to gain their footing in the in the game space, especially since it's a different medium and the way that you have to portray those characters is a bit different. But I think they did a relatively good job. I still stand by, like, I wouldn't say I have a favorite voice for, like, a favorite voice cast the way I would back then. Because I feel like they all portray their era differently and to the best of their ability. I still will say that I think Sonic 06 is one of the weaker. I will say that Sonic 06 is still, I think, the weakest portrayal and the weak, like, of those characters that they have done.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad. I think that's more in line with, like, there's a whole blooper in the game.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
It's left in the game's code. Like, it's like, I think it's more so the troubled production, more like the rush production of them being like, we got the take, move on, next.
Yeah.
Versus versus their ability. Because again, I think they do an okay job.
Yeah. Because I remember.
Same with the music. I did not realize I shit on the music as much as I did. Again, I will say of the adventure era, I think Sonic 06 has the weakest overall soundtrack. But why did I think his world wasn't good? That was a banger. I flat out said Crush 40's All Hail Shadow sucked. That is a lie. Crush 40's All Hail Shadow is so good.
That's fair. I don't know. I randomly, like, I booted up like the Flash game site at some point because I found it and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's actually still up, by the way. The Japanese Sonic 06 site is still up, and it automatically played his world, and I was like, I don't know. And I was like, this song's kind of good because I haven't listened to it.
I think I mixed up the game playing his world, like every other cutscene, like every 20-30 minutes you're in the game with I don't like the song.
Yeah, I like the little like orchestral one they do. I mean instrumental one they do when we beat a mission. It's pretty good. I was gonna say I had a point here. I don't know what I was gonna say anymore.
Something about, I know I derailed it about the voice acting.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be fine. I have a okay. You said in the video that you pray that you'll never say that Silver is a telekinetic hedgehog again. Have you ever said it since? This is a joke question. You don't have to answer this one.
I haven't said it since, and I'm honestly mad that I didn't recognize how cool Silver was back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, he's Trunks the Hedgehog. Trunks is cool. And it's especially like nowadays, I think it took a while for them to understand what to do with Silver, but especially now, I think the best portrayal of Silver that we have is in the IDW comics, where he's just kind of he's this stoic guy who wants to or he's not stoic. In the IDW comics, he's he's this warrior that comes back to make sure that that the future is safe, but he's also never experienced peace. So him being in the present is the first time he's been able to relax and see what normal life was like for people. And I think there are glimpses of that in Sonic 06, that he's very introspective, where he's kind of appreciating life, and he's appreciating having his first friend other than Blaze in Amy. And I think his story is a lot better than I initially gave it credit for, because it's a lot deeper than I was expecting. Shadow as well. Shadow also has a phenomenal story that I think people don't necessarily see, because his main villain in his story is a recolor of him. If they gave Mephiles an original design, I think people would have a lot more positive things to say about that story. I will still say Sonic's story is bad, because it's just
yeah.
it is just Elise gets kidnapped, save Elise. Elise gets kidnapped in the next cutscene. It
Yeah.
feels like even the writers don't know. Like they had these like really deep stories about this lore that they wanted to have this game that they only gave to Sonic and Shadow, they only gave to Shadow and Silver, and did not give to Sonic at all.
Yeah. I've had a lot of my friends say that the story is like just basically a first draft. If they actually rewrote it, it probably would have been a lot better.
Probably.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that you could cut out of there.
That's true. Yeah. There was one comment I thought was kind of funny from 11 years ago. It read, if you don't want Sonic 06 Maniac, can I have it? I always wanted that 06, please. I'm an 11-year-old that likes Sonic. And then they later also commented, please apply back. I thought I'd just share that because I thought it was funny.
You 11 years ago?
From 11 years ago.
Shit, I might reply to that after this. No, just YouTube comments that YouTube was a different ecosystem and atmosphere to what it is now. Because none of us wanted to get famous. None of us wanted to be recognized.
I mean,
and honestly,
I think some people did.
some people did, but like a I think, well, sometimes, yeah, but I feel like if they were doing that, they would go for the super viral video, like, kind of fame versus, like, doing something kind of like Chocolate Rain or Shoes. Like, try to make that, like, next catchy viral clip versus that is, like, 2 minutes you put out and that's what you're known for. Versus the kind of, like, video essay, machinimas, like, it was never, like, especially like at our age, it was never about becoming famous. It was just about expressing ourselves. And that's something I think is very much missing in the current YouTube ecosystem, because it's all up, because like, I'm honestly shocked you were able to find a Sonic 06 video from 12 years ago.
Yeah. There is a search function on YouTube that allows you to search by year, so it's very,
it's
very useful.
Very deeply, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was good. It was very useful. You kind of already said this, but the next question was basically just how's your opinion changed on your review, which you kind of already shared. Unless you have any deeper thoughts on it.
See, back in the day, when I was reviewing something, if it was something bad, I just immediately went to, this is bad, this is why you shouldn't play it, this sucks, this is a travesty, this is horrible. But the thing was, still played it to the end. Why? And even then, like, around the same time, Super Mario Galaxy came out. That game's amazing.
True.
I've only played Super Mario Galaxy, I think, twice in my life. I've played Sonic 06. I used to play Sonic 06 like once a year. Like, I would just make myself, like, I was just bored and I would play Sonic 06, like the 3D Sonic games all in order, usually to lead up to the new one coming out. So I played Sonic 06 infinitely more than Super Mario Galaxy, which came out around the same time. And Super Mario Galaxy is infinitely the better game. But at the same time, Sonic 06 made me feel something that Super Mario Galaxy didn't. And it was like, I got enjoyment out of both games. And that's the thing I think my review is missing. I enjoy Sonic 06. I hate it. It is bad. It is horrible. But I love playing it because every time I play it, I learn something new. Something new breaks. It is never the same playthrough twice. Even if you think you like completely understand it, something will break your brain every time. Yeah. And I think that's why I kept going back to it, because it was so bad. It was so annoying that it was fun to get, like, just to see what breaks next.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, me being honestly just being 14. I think that's something I didn't fully understand, is that you're allowed to like things, you know? Even if it's bad, even if the whole world is screaming at you that this is bad and you're bad for liking it, you're allowed to like it. And Sonic 06 is like, I think, slowly becoming the epitome of that.
Yeah.
Because I will disagree with anybody who says it is a good game. It is an enjoyable game to play. And like, I think that is something, it's like why I enjoy the like Unity remake that, I forget who's making it, but the Project Sonic 06 Unity remake.
Yeah.
It's a great Sonic adventure game. I don't find it as fun as Sonic 06 because I've played Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. It is like, that's all it is. It's Sonic Adventure 1, like it is Sonic Adventure 3. Like, in what I feel like the next step would have been, minus before they like decided to spin that off into like Sonic Heroes and eventually like Sonic 06 and crush the development time. But the thing was, I will play Project Sonic 06 once and say, that's how it should have been. That was a good game. And then probably not play it again. The same way I would go back to Sonic 06 on the 360 because I'm wanting that bad experience. I'm playing that for that because that's what gave me joy. That's what gave me enjoyment. And I think that is what I was too young and naive to be able to articulate well, is that, yeah, everything about this game sucks, but I am playing it because it's making me feel something. And that's kind of how I've changed my reviews since reviewing the Bubsy games, I feel like. Because rather than focusing on the game itself, I focus on why I feel that way, how I would change things to enjoy it more. Or like even like some scripts that I have unreleased, the main reason I stopped working on it is because ever since I tried being more introspective on those scripts, it skyrocketed the pages from like in 8 pages to 8 to 10 pages to suddenly 30, 40, 50.
Yeah.
And it would become like whole productions. But honestly, like, it makes more sense because I'm talking about how that game makes me feel, and what about that game is, or movie, is making me specifically feel that, and more like digging deep into it. Like, reviewing something, I don't think you can talk about media online in any way without putting yourself out, like, into it. Like, I hate the word objective review, like that, like kind of like, oh, you need to be objective when reviewing something, because as a review, it's impossible to do that. A review is an opinion. A review is what makes you feel that way. And I feel like, especially like in like this era of influencers, that kind of like, there are plenty of like influencer reviewers, like when it comes to video games or films or other types of media, like, people are watching people for that person's opinion. And part of wanting to follow someone's journey is knowing why, like, knowing their opinion of past games. You've seen their journey. They've explained to you why this made them feel this way. So you want to watch their new video to figure out how this new game that harkens back to something old or something completely, a brand new take on something, how that person is going to react to it. And the great thing is everyone's going to have a different take on it, which I think like the comments on modern YouTube that I hate the most are the giant essays of people saying, I disagree with your points because I liked this, or I disagree with your points because objectively Sonic Forces is a bad story. It's like, honestly, Sonic Forces is like to me, Sonic Forces is a fine game. I enjoyed it because it had what I liked in Sonic the Hedgehog in it. And the cool thing was it's a 4-hour game, so if I just want to like have a glass of wine and got nothing to do for the afternoon, I can just install Sonic Forces and then be done in 4 hours and get an okay Sonic experience that is tailor-made to like my tastes of what I like in the franchise. And I think that is something that the angry reviews, like the angry like era of reviews missed, because everybody wanted to say the most over the top thing in the most over the top way about a mechanic that everybody knows is bad.
Yeah. Did you know the graphics are bad? It's like, yeah. Good for you. Congratulations, you did it. You know?
Exactly.
That was definitely
How
something I
many different
noticed.
ways-
Oh, sorry.
What?
I was gonna say one thing I noticed is that a lot of reviews, they start just sounding like the exact same. It's like, wow, thank you. The loading times are bad. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard that before.
What are you gonna do with the loading time? Like, if you're gonna talk about the loading time, make it a joke. Like something that I would actually do, because I felt like that was such an issue, was I would watch other I would watch other reviews, because we're all gonna talk about the same things. It was more so, am I talking about it in a different way?
Yeah.
And like there have been times where sometimes people just go for the lowest hanging fruit, especially I feel like in the angry reviewer era.
Yeah.
People go for the lowest hanging fruit. So if you need to find a new way to say thing bad, and most people don't move past this is poopy, this is stupid, this is bullshit. And like I feel like explaining it or turning it into a joke is a good way to do it. Like going all in. Like I feel like James Rolfe, like I forgot, oh yeah, never mind, that won't count because he reviewed Sonic 06. Like there are 100 things I would do differently while especially in the modern day, but it's like back then it was all about just being as over the top as possible versus getting and trying to being more over the top as possible than giving somebody here's a kind of snapshot of the game, you might like it, you might not, for while throwing in some jokes.
They never lacked nuance. It was always just the points, and then that was it. It's like, okay, why is this bad? Just move on. It's like, okay, I'll never know, I guess. Yeah. It's kind of related to one of the questions, which is, do you think by 2011 that most people would basically just instead of giving their genuine, opinion, they kind of just hammed it up on purpose for the sake of viewership or anything like that?
Oh, most definitely. Even I will even say I did that, because half of the language I would use there is not stuff I would normally say in everyday conversation. But I would write it in a script because, I said earlier, I think I had it is easier to write about hating something than it is to write about liking something or why you like it. Because if you hate it because thing bad, right there you have it. You just now need to think of the funniest way to say thing bad. And by just screaming expletives or just going over the top hammy, right there, joke done. Not a lot of brain power needed. Versus if you put nuance into it, you actually went into it the frame rate chugs a lot, but nobody's ever looked into, but every single one of those angry reviews never bothered to look into why does the frame rate chug. Is it something that I constantly notice whenever I play Sonic 06 is in one of the adventure fields. I think it's the pier, the harbor one. I don't know exactly what it's called in the game, but like when running around as Sonic, every so often the game just freezes for a second or two and then continues. At least when I was playing it on an original model 360. So I never thought twice about it. I just thought game has a shitty frame rate, game bad. Never thinking of what's the game doing that's causing it to like feel like it has to load like that. Like nobody bothered to dig into why the game was chugging, why the game is as broken as it is. They just say game broken, moving on. When I feel like figuring out why would be the cool, like right there you have a very interesting topic you could have gone into, could have gotten as technical as you wanted to, and you would have probably been one of the most unique people to do it. But that also involves work. That also involves technical know-how. It involves knowing how the engine was built. It involves knowing how the 360 runs stuff, especially like if you were to compare it to the PS3 version. Like, and it's all work that like professional game reviewers at like GameSpot and IGN didn't have the time to do because they had 6 other assignments to do, and they only needed to do a 5-6 minute piece. And the people who are doing like 20-minute reviews, 4-hour reviews, don't bother because they don't have the technical know-how of the behind the scenes, or not enough was known about the game to look into that stuff. So they just go on reviewing, like going just frame by frame, level by level, talking about, I hate this. The game is slow. Silver's level is bad. Here's why it's bad. Here's exactly why it's bad. Here's how to skip this section. Here's how to do this, rather than digging into, hey, here's how Havok works in here's how the Havok physics engine works in Assassin's Creed and GTA 4. It's the exact same physics engine as in Sonic 06. What about Sonic 06 has the Havok engine implemented badly versus the way that like how is the Havok engine badly implemented in Sonic 06 so that every time enemies ragdoll after destroying them, it causes the frame rate to chug, versus having like Assassin's Creed having so many different people ragdolling, and having ragdolling being a part of the gameplay itself, but still being able to keep a consistent 30 or 60 depending on the console you're on.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I feel like your review is still better than like some of them I've seen. Because you at least like tried to think of something, you know? Like even like bringing up like the Havok physics engine is still more effort than I've seen some people do, you know? Because most reviews are really just like, the controls are bad, Sonic is slow. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, that's technically valid, but it's like you know, it's usually just like, it feels like they're more so listing points rather than like trying to, you know, make a review. Which I get it, you know, you're a kid, you don't really know entirely how to do it properly, but
yeah,
they are like, fairly simplistic.
I will say that like those reviews, I will say, like, help put me on the current path that I am professionally. I'm currently a photojournalist. So like back then, even though I was doing the bare minimum of research into like stuff like learning what the Havok engine was and how it was implemented into other games and what other games it was, like, to be fair, for 14, 15, that's a lot more research that a lot more people would do at the time. Yeah. And I think, like, if you told, like, a lot of people that reviewed Sonic 06 back in the day, they would be shocked to know that something that was in Assassin's Creed or GTA 4 was also in Sonic 06.
Yeah.
So, like, doing even the most basic research when I was 14 led to me doing more research into, like, as I went on, and became more so the focus of some of the reviews that I would write. Like, I think one of the last, like, Maniac style kind of reviews that I did was the Bubsy, oh shoot, what was it? Bubsy Paws on Fire. It had a whole Kickstarter,
Yeah.
and Bubsy is owned by a Chinese I think a holding company based out of Hong Kong, and they already released one game. So I dug into everything I could find, the filings, the Kickstarter, the like anything I could find to do the research into it to try to figure out what the hell is going on with the Bubsy IP, who owns it, just kind of just putting it out there that they are looking to make a quick buck off an internet meme versus making any type of art. And that ended up being like, I think 6 or 7 minutes of an 18-minute video. It's almost like the research and the journalistic integrity is more so it is more so the interesting part of the video, at least to me, versus talking about why this Bubsy game is just Bit Trip Runner, just reskinned. And rewatching the Sonic 06 video, I actually noticed some of that, where I tried, like, I gave a very basic and shallow overview of the history of Sonic 06, using, like, talking about the tech demo, talking about Yuji Naka leaving, like, all of those are just, like, very baseline things that I don't see a lot of people talk about. And I feel like knowing everything about the games, like even like how Sonic and the Secret Rings was supposed to be a Wii port that they couldn't get working. All of that, I think, goes into explaining why the game was so bad at launch. Because Sega was being, like, Sonic Team was being ripped into so many different directions, and even for a little bit was directionless with the loss of Yuji Naka. So, like, but people just want to focus on this game that came out in 2006 was bad without looking at the context in any way, when I feel like the context is the interesting part, and the art that they were able to make despite it is the thing I think that should be praised, is the hard word, but should at least be admired. Like, hey, your entire company was on fire and you still got a game out. Like, people don't talk about that. Video games are hard to make, and they still got something out the door. It definitely needed, like, it was definitely, like, in a beta, it felt like. But it, like, Sonic 06 does play better than a lot of games that you find on the Switch eShop right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like, one thing I really wanted to figure out with this video in particular is, like, that shift from, like, people genuinely playing Sonic 06 when it came out and being like, this game was bad, here's why, you know, to people just being like, ooh, Sonic 06 is bad, let me make a video on that, you know, like, I want to find, like, that shift point. I feel like there was a certain time frame where people, it was pretty obvious, people are just like, this game's bad, I'll do it for views, you know, and I feel like it was kind of out, like, that 2009 kind of realm.
I have my own kind of little theory on that, and it honestly can kind of go back to that comment that you saw, that, like, you brought up earlier. Like, that's, I think, a great distillation of it. It's like, objectively, Mario has better games, but Mario also doesn't have the type of fan base Sonic has. And I will arguably say that the Sonic fan base and the Sonic fandom is more passionate about this blue idiot than any of Mario's fans are. And I think it's because Sonic reinvents himself every so often. Like, people always talk about the Sonic cycle when talking about game development, but I feel like that's too small, because they always look at the Sonic cycle as one, like, the development cycle and hype cycle of one game, but I kind of noticed it being like, whole eras. Like, Sonic reinvents himself nearly every 10 years or so, and we're at the start of a new one. Like, you had Sonic 1, 2, and 3 kind of, like, and CD in some way, kind of perfect that, like, 2D Sonic gameplay and speed, And then that kind of and every time Sega would try to iterate on like different aspects of it, we got games that were just kind of meh, like Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Knuckles Chaotix, and it would like the games would start dropping in quality because Sega didn't really know how to improve, how to move on, what to do. They were just focusing on what they always did. Then they looked at the elements that they had, what they liked about the character, what would work, and then they made Sonic Adventure, which was bringing that into 3D, focusing on the narrative elements from Sonic 3 and Knuckles that were kind of like there, and then making that part of the forefront, and then perfecting the gameplay in Sonic Adventure 2 while also focusing more on the story. And as time goes on, they start trying to iterate on other things, like Sonic Adventure. Like, I will stand by, I think Sonic Adventure 3 eventually became Sonic Heroes, and I feel like seeing like the 3 characters, the 3 levels, like all, like I feel like it's there. And I will say that like it's still a Sonic Adventure game. Same with Shadow the Hedgehog, same with Sonic 06. Those are part of the adventure era. Those all have the same base gameplay, which is Sonic Adventure. But obviously, something had to give. Like, Sonic Adventure wasn't working anymore as a thing, which is the end of the cycle. Which is then brought up Sonic Unleashed. They looked at what they had, which was Sonic feels good to play when he's fast, when he's blazing through levels. And then they focused on that to make the boost gameplay. And they kept iterating on it with colors, focusing on the 2D aspects that were introduced in Unleashed. Generations, which kind of separated the two so that they could focus on 2D aspects while also having the 3D aspects still there and prevalent. But eventually, like all the way up to Forces, something had to give. Now we're on the start of this brand new cycle where they're again taking the elements of the last generation to try to find a new direction, which all Sonic Frontiers is the boost gameplay slowed down a bit and given a very basic kind of Devil May Cry-esque kind of button masher, using the base of what they had with the boost formula. And I feel like that's the Sonic cycle. It's always constantly evolving, but the great thing about always evolving is that everyone's gonna get in at a different time. Sonic means something else to everybody because Sonic is because every single game, no matter how great it is or how terrible it is someone's first Sonic game. Some person grew up with getting a 360 as their very first console and Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. And to them, that is what Sonic the Hedgehog is. And so I feel like, and like even that comment that you brought up, which was, if you don't want it anymore, I'm 11 and I love Sonic. He's probably going to have a blast with the game. The same way I begrudgingly liked Sonic 06 when I played it, even though I recognized it as like an inferior adventure game even back then when I first played it. I still played it and I still had fun in a different kind of way, but it was still fun. And especially like I think that's why nobody can agree with what Sonic should do next, because everybody has a different opinion of what Sonic should be. And I think that's kind of at the heart of why people are starting to come around on Sonic 06. Like, people remember growing up with it the same way I grew up with Sonic Adventure 2 as my very first Sonic game. Some people are going to grow up with Sonic Colors as their very first Sonic game. Some people are going to grow up with Sonic Frontiers as their very first Sonic game. Some people think that Sonic should just be a dumb little kid who's experiencing family for the first time because the first time they were introduced to Sonic the Hedgehog was the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Everything is someone's first Sonic, and everybody wants to experience what they felt when they felt their first. Let me rephrase that because that was going to come out really wrong. Everybody every single piece of Sonic media is someone's first piece of Sonic media, and everybody wants to go back to that nostalgia of playing and experiencing Sonic the Hedgehog for the first time. But with a franchise that reinvents itself and evolves as much as Sonic the Hedgehog does, you're almost guaranteed to always get something new. And that is something I didn't even realize as someone who was always staunchly, I want Sonic Adventure 3. It is something that I didn't even realize until the movie, really. Because the movie was the first time I kind of like got back onto the Sonic the Hedgehog train, and especially Sonic the Hedgehog 2, that hit on all of the elements of the franchise I love, and even introduced some stuff that I didn't know I loved nearly as much as I did. It's just exciting to see new fans come in that are passionate and want to come around on it. And Sonic 06 is just, I think, the big shift that we're seeing. It's the people that grew up on Sonic 06, completely divorced from the internet or listening to the internet, listening to people like me back in the day saying it sucks and disagreeing, starting to voice their opinion now that they have the words, now that they can articulate it more, now that it's been on the market for, it was the 15th anniversary game for Sonic the Hedgehog, and the game is older than that 15th anniversary. It's been out longer than 15 years.
Yeah.
Even I'm starting to notice, in the same cycle, people are coming around on Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, of all things.
Are they? I hope not.
I've gotten some comments saying Sonic Boom would have been a great game. They should remake it and fix it. And the game is broken on a fundamental level. Go off.
I think
people have an enjoyment from Sonic Boom.
I think it could have been better, but I feel like the fact that it was on the Wii U just kind of doomed it from the start. At least by
yeah, I think all the research I did saw that the technical specs of the Wii U being new and not because it was being developed for Xbox One and PS4.
Yeah.
The technical aspects of the Wii U being such a weird console that suddenly also had to stream to the gamepad constrained them because they had to focus how to get this engine that is specifically said not to work on on the console to work. And it's it goes back to what I think it's I was very negative on Sonic Boom when I reviewed it. Even back then I was still very negative on it, and I agree, it's a bad game, it's boring. I honestly probably wouldn't review it today because I don't have much to say about it other than it's boring. But you have to give praise to Big Red Button, give credit is due. CryEngine did not work on the Wii U until they made it work.
Yeah. I'm more shocked that they released that at all, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That game's a mess. Honestly.
Show's great though.
I played it in January a little bit because I was gifted a Wii U, in 2024. Anyway, but I was like, this is. Oh, it could have been good if it was not on the Wii U. It could have been a 7, honestly. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, I don't know. I do feel like the whole Sonic 06 review meme thing, I feel like it mainly stemmed from the fact that they became so formulaic, and there were many review. Are you aware of the whole evil clone forces you to review Sonic 06 kind of meme? Yeah. I feel like that happened mainly just because of how stale the reviews were at the time, combined with those tropes did exist, back in the day. The whole evil game became the life and ruined my day or something. I feel like those kind of just combined in people's brains because they were from the exact same era, which kind of formulated the whole because Sonic 06 is one of the more famous bad games. It is pretty well known for that reason. So I feel like all those got kind of congealed into one ball, which is the modern Sonic 06 review meme. Because I tried very hard to find a Sonic 06 review with an evil clone character, and I could not find one. I tried really hard. Maybe I'll keep looking, but I've not have found one yet, so that's at least
I
my
know-
theory on it.
I know I didn't do the evil Leo forces me to do it, but I gave Sonic Adventure 2 of all things like a personality in my
Yeah,
review of
I
it.
noticed.
But like I just remember I like going back I remember like I had bought gun props for a short film that I was working on at the time, and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna need to go in with some protection if I'm going to review Sonic 06. And I'm honestly kind of glad that like I think like Sonic 06 was kind of the like beginning of me moving away from the angry persona,
Yeah.
especially since like Sonic Color, like the next games were like Sonic Unleashed Colors and like yeah, I think if I have my timelines correctly, I think Sonic 06 was one of no, I think it was Sonic Colors, but Sonic 06 was like one of the last video reviews I did. That was me in high school before I went to college, because I know Sonic Generations was actually the first video I made while I was in college, and it was filmed in my college dorm. And I think, like, without, like, with me having a general positive vibe about the other games, I think that I started coming into my own style, ironically enough, right after the Sonic 06 review, where I wasn't just trying to be James Rolfe.
Yeah. I got you. You answered most of these. I think we're basically good. Trying to think of like one more. I don't know. I guess do you still think Sonic 06 is the worst Sonic game ever made?
On a technical level, I will say yes. Like, on a strictly technical level, I think it is the most unfinished game that has been released in that franchise. Arguably next to Sonic Boom.
Yeah.
But at least Sonic Boom they patched. But do I think it's the worst? No, because
Yeah.
I kind of have this philosophy about media that I kind of came into as I was like more so in college and matured a lot more as a reviewer, as a person. It's again, you're allowed to like bad things.
Yeah.
And I think that the worst thing a piece of media can be isn't bad. I think it's boring.
I agree.
Like, I think worse Sonic games have come out simply because they are competently made. They are by the books, done.
Yeah.
Like I will like I know I like praised it before, but I think I have more fun revisiting Sonic 06 than I do Sonic Forces.
Yeah.
Because despite what everybody says, Forces is a finished game.
True.
It is complete. It is not broken. It is competent. It's a game. It is a short game. It doesn't do much.
1 second. What is going on with my audio? No. At the worst moment. It was fine this entire time. And now it's gonna mess up on me. There we go. Now we're back. Okay.
Cool. Like, it's a finished game. It is fine. I can play it in an afternoon and get exactly what I want out of it.
Yeah.
I play Sonic 06 and I burst into tears laughing because I hit a box at the wrong angle and suddenly the game thinks I maxed out the speed counter and shot me through an invisible wall.
That
Like,
sounds
it's-
about right.
It's so much fun every time to re-experience it. So again, technical level, the worst game. But it is such a blast to play.
Yeah. for me, it's like a game could be an actual 0, but if I can have like a little bit of fun with it, I might give it like a 1 or 2. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, obviously if a game is bad, you shouldn't give it a, you know, a good score, but like I feel like it still deserves like a few points if I can at least get entertainment out of it. You know.
If there's one thing I would change about my review style back in the day, like I know after a while I like eliminated numbers because people started
Yeah.
like trying to like I hate numbered reviews at this
Mhm.
point because people try to like to me it's the same thing as a tier list.
Yeah.
Like
You gave it a 6 out of 10. I hate you for life. You know, it's like calm down.
yeah, it's like the number is meaningless. The number is something that just came to mind.
Yeah.
Like people and like it's why like I stopped doing it because when YouTube introduced those like metric analytics where you can see like retention and stuff. I noticed that for almost every review it would be nothing, and then at the very end when the splash screen for numbers came up, just a huge jump.
Yep.
And it's everybody just skipping to the end, ignoring the 20 minutes of content analysis that I gave,
Yep.
just to see the number and then give me the finger because they think it should have been an 8 rather than a 7.
Yeah. That is a problem for numbered scores. I do agree.